Hello and welcome again to another look at our Across Every Cloud demo series. Today I am joined by the always awesome Ryan Behiel, who is our technical marketing engineer. And today he's going to be showing us exactly how we do cross integration inside the portfolio, truly spanning everything together under one platform. Ryan, thank you for joining us. And do you mind showing us what you got?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So yeah, we're talking about something kind of cool today. It's about how we tie together a few different Veritas solutions, so InfoScale, Resiliency Platform, and Net Backup, to provide an overall solution that basically will give you, availability and resiliency for any type of application that you have with any kind of RPO or RTO requirement. So let me show you what this kind of looks like. We'll just log in here so you can see the dashboard view of how this looks when you first log in. And what you see is this nice global view here that represents where your systems are actually located, right? So in our case, we've got a data center here in New York. We've got one over here in London. And so we can get some quick stats right off the bat to see what's going on in our data centers. So New York here, it shows us a bit of information around the systems that we have configured. Same thing here over in London. We can see kind of the same information. And so yeah, right off the bat, you do get some interesting information just kind of as a bird's eye view of what's going on in your overall environment. And we also see something here that we call resiliency groups and virtual business services. So I'll talk a little bit about what those are and how they work. So with the resiliency group, what that is it's basically a construct that allows us to group systems together for the purpose of taking some kind of action on those systems, right? So that could be a start or a stop, or it could be a migration between two sites, things along that line. We can group all systems or all like systems together within a resiliency group to make it easy to perform operations on all those systems at once. So typically what you're going to see is like kind of the view you have here. There's a resiliency group for our applications, for databases, and a few other things like some web servers that we've got. And what's interesting is that these resiliency groups can actually be part of a bigger thing that's called a virtual business service that allows us to group multiple resiliency groups together in a way that represents an overall IT service that these resiliency groups might provide, right? So an example that we have here is our finance service. So if we take a look at this, what we see is that we actually have a web tier. We have an application tier, and we have a database tier, and this all works together to provide this overall finance service. So what's interesting here is that we can actually perform operations like you can see here, so migrations, takeovers, rehearsals. We can do this on this entire virtual business service in a way that basically makes a failover or a takeover operation really simple, and it can be done with as little as one click. So what we can see here, if we do a migrate, for example, say we want to move our virtual business service running on a New York data center to our data center in London, we can do that really easily. We just select the data center we want to move the service to. In this case, it's London. And then from here, the system will basically move that entire virtual business service from New York to London, and there's no involvement on the end user's part. Okay, so as we can see here, the migration has been successful rather. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. All right, and so we can see here, this operation has completed successfully. We've managed to move an entire finance business service from one data center to another with a couple clicks, and it's really that simple. So overall, that's kind of what a virtual business service is and how it can help automate the process of moving your IT services between sites and making sure that they're highly available and resilient. But I also wanted to show you a little bit about the infrastructure behind this virtual business service and what that looks like. Remember how we have InfoScale and Resiliency Platform and Net Backup all integrated to provide this overall solution? So this virtual business service is actually using two of those options. It's using InfoScale for high availability as well as Resiliency Platform to manage our overall virtual business service and provide that high availability between data centers. So if we see here from the infrastructure view, we can actually see what this looks like from an InfoScale perspective. So we can see here within our application cluster, this is going to represent the database within that VBS. We have our database cluster right here, visible within the Resiliency Platform console. And so we can see the cluster here, but we can actually also see the cluster from the Veritas InfoScale Operations Manager console, which is this view right here. So here you can see the cluster configuration. So we have our London cluster and we have our New York cluster. And we can actually get into a bit more of the details here. And you can see what the Oracle database that we're managing with InfoScale looks like. So here we have our Oracle database, and you can see the resource dependencies that we're managing here with InfoScale. So all the Oracle mount points, all the networking, everything that's required for that Oracle database to be online and active, that's being managed here by InfoScale. And it's laid out here in this resource dependency, and that includes the replication between the two sites, between New York and London. So that's the InfoScale view. And if we come back over here in Resiliency Platform, again, you can see that that cluster is fully integrated and manageable here in Resiliency Platform, right? So we have our one console that can manage everything here all in one central location. So that's the InfoScale view. Now what we can do, we can also actually see the net backup side of things that are integrated into our overall solution here. And we see the net backup master server that we have running in New York. And so what we can do with this is we can actually automate the restore and recovery of backup images, again, from this one location, making things really simple, right? So whether your application is really high importance and it's being managed by InfoScale, or if it's something where your RPOs and your RTOs are a bit higher, you can tolerate a bit more downtime, that can be recovered using backup images. And again, it can all be done from one central location right here in the Resiliency Platform console.
I feel like you've just taken me on a journey here. So just a quick question, Ryan. You know, our net backup customers, they might not be aware of this, but they are entitled to use Resiliency Platform as part of their entitlement, correct?
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. So they absolutely are. Any net backup customer that has a net backup capacity license today does have entitlement to use Resiliency Platform. So this is something they absolutely could be using, which adds a bunch of value to the net backup solution that they already have, for sure.
That's awesome. So my big takeaway here, Ryan, is that through NetBackup and now the Resiliency Platform and InfoScale, we have the ability to integrate all of this together and truly be able to orchestrate from the smallest little resiliency group all the way up to these complex virtual business services.
Yeah, exactly, Anthony. So the nice thing here is that this solution gives you the ability to provide availability and resiliency for really any type of application, right? Regardless of what RPO or RTO you might have, whether that's something that's really mission critical, something that's still, fairly high or middle importance, or something where you can tolerate a little bit more downtime and can orchestrate recovery using backup images. All of that can be done from this one spot or with this one solution, which is really what makes it kind of cool, right? To say you can provide availability and resiliency for nearly any application that you have, right? So that's kind of what makes it unique.
Simple and cool. Well, thank you very much, Ryan, for showing us this. And thank you to all of you for checking out this video. Be sure to check out the rest of the demos inside our Across Every Cloud series. Look forward to seeing you there.